Welcome to the Mom CEO podcast. I'm your host, Esther Roach. Join me as we explore the dynamic intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. From the challenges to the triumphs, we're here to unravel it all. Get ready for insightful conversations, practical wisdom, and a whole lot of inspiration. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mom CEO podcast. I'm your host, Esther Roche, and today I'm joined by Naomi. Hello, Naomi, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Esther. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's a pleasure having you today. So for the benefit of the audience, if you could please introduce yourself and what you do.
Yes, of course. So my name is Naomi Wachner, and I am a mother to two young boys aged 8 and 3 years old. I'm a wife to an incredibly supportive man who has really been such a strength during this, business ownership journey, whilst also obviously being mum to young children. I am the multi-award-winning founder of Calibre, which is a virtual assistant agency with an edge. So I built Calibre, and I am building Calibre with the goal of challenging the outdated perception linked to what a virtual assistant is. And by so doing, I'm looking to raise the overall standard of the virtual assistant industry and really help place remote specialists and virtual assistants where they truly belong in the professional space. So by doing that, with Calibre, our edge is the expertise that we provide. So each one of our virtual assistants are experts at what they do. They are not, low qualified or low skilled. They are very highly skilled. They have not only the experience, but they also have their formal qualifications. They are seasoned career professionals who, due to circumstances, chose to pivot their careers into the remote space. So the virtual assistants that we work with, as I mentioned, are all experts. And what really makes Calibre special is our founder-led boutique style with working with businesses. So founder-led means that I'm here. You will always, even when you work with a virtual assistant, have my managerial oversight in the background, making sure that the service promised remains as promised. And you also have the operational VA, obviously, who will become a business's strategic partner and hopefully give them the faster route to achieving their goals.
Oh, fantastic. And that's a lot. But what I was going to say is, the whole VA, industry, like you said, it's kind of like exploded, if you like. What makes sort of, what are the differences? Because you see VAs all the time. I get loads of inbox messages on LinkedIn, like cold inbox DMs about a virtual assistant. And I think it's really important at this stage to kind of assist people in understanding and knowing how to best choose, an agency or a person to go with as a VA.
Absolutely. And to be honest, when I started my virtual assistant journey, I started it because I discovered this buzzword, realized that I had quite a few transferable skills. I worked in the legal space before, paralegal, within legal teams. So when I had my children and when my second born was 10 months old, I decided to pivot for more flexibility, which is what most mums who choose this kind of career, that is usually one of the reasons why. Started to provide my legal admin services on a remote basis. But as I was entering this world of virtual assistants, I really saw, like just what you said, there were just so many virtual assistants, but at the same time, there were so many business owners who appeared to be getting burnt by low qualified VAs. And I remember talking to a few of my contacts and actually getting quite upset for them, because I knew from experience that when you start a business, it is like your baby. And then when you get to that point where you need that support, you're already quite hesitant to let someone into your world. And then someone comes into your world and then things go wrong or they mess things up. And, the whole point, as you said, is to drive a business forward. And that's when I really started looking into how we can redefine what our virtual assistant is. Because although I met a few people who had bad experiences, I was also meeting virtual assistants who were extremely highly qualified, who had fantastic reviews, who had businesses who were like blossoming thanks to word of mouth, but who were still struggling to be seen as the seasoned career professionals that they truly were. And that's why I decided to build Calibre, so that when someone hears the word Calibre, they know, okay, you may have a virtual assistant, but are they a Calibre virtual assistant? Because I know that a Calibre virtual assistant is highly qualified, has so many recommendations, has the experience, has the formal qualifications, has the know-how, has the drive. You know, they have what it takes to become a strategic partner, not just admin support, but a strategic partner to boost people's businesses in the right direction. So, in just in answer to your question about, how can we choose the right VA, that there are a few things to look out for, even on the legal side of things. Make sure that they're ISO registered, make sure they have proper contracts. But word of mouth and personal recommendations, they do go a long way, which is why it's very important to me to build a brand where my clients themselves are very proud of recommending us to others, because that is the most powerful tool at our disposal, as it does speak volumes as to the quality, of the service we're delivering.
No, absolutely. And like you rightly said, with word of mouth, it's great. But at the same time, what it seems you're doing as well with your VAs is that there is proper contracts in place. You're not making it up as you go along, because that's another terrible thing that can happen. And then there's nobody accountable because there wasn't quite the right contract. Have you got any sort of tips around that area, that aspect?
Yes, I mean, and again, because of my legal background, I was quite hot on that from the get-go. I wanted everything to be just so legally as well. So yes, there are quite a few reputable companies that will provide solicitor drafted contracts. There's different price points, and actually I have enjoyed, even with virtual assistants who are new to this industry, recommending from personal experience, which ones, to go for. But there are legal contracts at our disposal that can be obviously personalized when it comes to, the type of services that we're delivering. But as a whole, it protects both parties. Also, when it comes to GDPR, when it comes to the use of AI, that is such a strong topic at the moment. And that's very important, again, for me to make a point of looking at, because with Calibre, we are a human-led business. And obviously we do use AI when, just the way the world is at the moment, but we don't want to get lost in this world of AI so that we lose that human relationship, when it comes to, building businesses. Because we do feel like humans, it sounds really almost silly to have to say this nowadays, but humans are still what are going to be moving businesses forward with authenticity, and that's something that we do keep close in mind.
Oh, fantastic! And there is, that's a whole nother topic about AI and how to integrate it properly, within the businesses and stuff. Because if properly used, then it works wonders and stuff. But it still needs that human touch, doesn't it? So that's fantastic. So you are a big, advocate for flexible working. And, from what you've mentioned previously, it seems like to me that, you're having your two children gave you that sort of nudge basically to get into the VA space rather than going back to work. Tell us a little bit about that and why it's so important to you.
Yes. Well, so as I mentioned, I've got two children. When my firstborn was born, I obviously had my maternity leave, but I still was able to find an employed role 2 days a week that helped me, pursue my career still. I've always had such strong support from my own mother. So she was helping me with the childcare for my firstborn. And it was my first, obviously, experience of having my career with a young child and navigating it. So he was still quite young at that time. But then COVID struck.
Okay.
The whole Worcester team was made redundant. The office completely closed.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, because business ownership was something that I'd always had at the back of my mind ever since moving back to the UK. Now, that's another part of the story, which I'll probably get to later on in the podcast. But I grew up in France. So I'm originally from Oxford. My parents moved to France when I was 6, grew up there, went to university there, came back to the UK. And ever since coming back to the UK, the spirit of entrepreneurship was at a level that I had never experienced before. And it just sparked something in me. And I was like, oh, maybe that could be me one day. I wonder if I could build something for myself, but whilst not really trusting that I could do it. But then COVID struck and I thought, well, let me see if I can do something from home when I've got nothing else to do, really, when everything is shut down. And I started a little hobby business at that time. And with my first one as inspiration, I created these nature-themed flashcards because, we love nature. We love going out on walks and identifying what leaves were these, what insects were these. So I created these flashcards. Lo and behold, I managed to get them on a few websites and in a local farm shop. So that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Then I had my second born. And it was when I had my second born that I thought, you know what, I do not want to go back to the corporate world because I know I will not have the flexibility that I need to be as present as I would like to be for my children. I didn't want to have to ask someone to attend my children's sports days or to take my children to the doctors. That was something that I thought, right, but then what can I do? Because I do need to support myself, within our family unit. And that's when I just mentioned, I heard about this buzzword of virtual assistant. I literally just did my research, did all the legal things, legal research behind it with my expertise, set myself up properly, and very quickly got my first client. Wow. Who is still a Calibre client down to this day. And this was 3 years ago. So again, that just shows, just the full circle really of the journey that I've been on. And it was just me at that time. Now I've got a team and I'm managing a team of VAs. But the flexibility that it gave me meant that I could work the hours that I could work while still being present for my children. Now, this is not for everybody. And I feel like every mother, every person who starts their business needs to find out what is their personal definition of balance, what is their personal definition of success. So my balance was getting up very early in the morning and working between 5:30 and 8 a.m.
Wow.
At 8 a.m., my husband would go to work. So that would be me being a mum until the evening. And then in the evening, with children asleep, I would work another 2 to 3 hours. That was my balance. And that's what I was able to do to build a business from scratch with no connections, literally from scratch, no funding. And looking back, you don't always realize it when you're in the moment, but looking back, my husband does call me quite tenacious. I didn't realize the extent of my tenacity until I actually look back. But it was one of those moments of self-discovery, although there was a little bit of fear in me, like, oh, will I actually pull this off? Whilst at the same time, I told myself it has to work because I'm not going back to the corporate world. So this has to work. So it's going to work. So I'm going to make it work, even if it means me getting up at 5:30 in the morning. And so that was, for the first year of my business, that's what I did every single day. And then thankfully, thanks to word of mouth, I soon became fully booked on a part-time basis. And that's when I decided to take on my very first associate. And that's when I started to juggle the transition from being the one doing the work to being the one actually networking and bringing the work in and then outsourcing it to an associate myself.
Wow.
And that's how the beginning of the Calibre brand really started. But at its core, for me, for personal reasons, it was that flexibility. I couldn't think of another job that would have allowed me to work those hours. successfully, whilst also building something that had a future. And the more I started building Calibre, the more I told myself, I really want to try building something that my sons can watch from afar, potentially get involved in at one point, but can see that if they put in the work, they can achieve anything. They don't have to go down the normal route of whatever success is. They can build something for themselves that fits their own circumstances.
Now that's a fantastic story there. And one of the things that I've taken though from the conversation and what you've mentioned is you had two people, and obviously your business family, but you've got your husband and your mom giving you support in the background. How important has that support been from them? Because if you don't have that support, and not everybody's lucky enough to have it.
Yeah, I can honestly say, if I didn't have their support, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, on this podcast with you. I don't know if I would have been able to start when I did, because my mother has been just a reliable strength and support in the background, helping me care for my children whilst I'm building something. Because there were times when, obviously, back in the beginning, when it was me doing the work, I needed to have a client meeting in the middle of the day. It wasn't often, but it happened.
Yeah.
And I had a baby. I couldn't tell my baby to shush. It's a baby. And, having my mother, whom I love and trust, and whom I know love and trust my child, being able to say, yeah, absolutely, that's in her diary, she's going to look after my boys. Obviously, my eldest at the time, I think he was potentially in reception already. Just to give me that flexibility here and there to be able to juggle motherhood with this business. And in the beginning, I must admit, it still is now, I am very strict with myself with the type of meetings I have and the regularity, because I haven't lost my why, which is to be present for my children. So obviously, as the years have gone on, my availability has continued to increase and to change as the children are getting older. But at the beginning, and even now, to be honest, during the school holidays, my mother has been such a reliable support when it comes to childcare. And with my husband, again, and I know the privileged circumstances I found myself in, that I was able to say to him, listen, I want to build something. I think I can do this, but I don't know when I'm going to start earning an income that will match what I earned before. It's going to take time. And for him to say, don't worry, I got you. He's got his employed role to provide for the family whilst I build something. The first months I earned like £200 a month. But how far does that go? So in terms of that, my husband was so supportive. But also when it comes to building and hustling in the beginning to build a business, it's not just the task that you have to do, it's also that emotional and mental strength that it requires from a person to build a business. And again, my husband was such a huge support to help encourage me on the days when I felt like, oh dear, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Just to keep me encouraged, which was amazing. And then as I continued to grow in my business, one thing that I have to say also, being surrounded by powerful women in the entrepreneurial space, in the business ownership space, also kept my drive alive and going. They didn't have to have the exact same circumstances as me. Often, a lot of them had their children, and they were either grown up or maybe didn't have kids at all, but their drive, I could see something in them that matched my drive. They also had overcome circumstances which, in theory, they shouldn't have been able to, but they did. And me looking at them, for me, that was my version. When I looked at them, I was like, wow, look at they're successful. Look at them. They had huge networks. They had personal brands. People knew who they were, but their relationship with their clients was so authentic and strong, and they were building something. They were building legacies. One lacking experience in the space, just bringing me with them, introducing me to people who would then raise me up. that has been an immense help on this business ownership journey as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, what I like as well is this aspect of communication, because, sometimes we can assume that, your husband, your mom, or people around you know what you need or what you want, because if you don't ask for that help and that support, nobody's gonna get
Yes.
it. And I think sometimes we
Yes.
are bad as women. Like I find I'm like that, because they were like, "Oh, do you need help with this, mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." You just can't carry on with it. Whereas if you just say,
Yes.
everybody pulls their finger and they will do something and
Yeah.
listen and actually take
Yes.
it on board and think, okay, yeah, no, they actually need support with X, Y, and Z. So, another valuable thing, like even for your sons, that communication is really
Yes.
important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, obviously, I was in a situation where, I had family members I could really trust to come through for me. Um, but during this whole journey of business ownership, I've often said to people, I really felt like it was a journey of self-discovery as well. And as you said, learning, what people call it, limited beliefs that you didn't realize that you had, things that mindset blocks you didn't realize you had. It could be, as you said, relating to communication or asking for help, but then being in a situation where you're like, listen, if I want to achieve this goal, I need to ask for help at this point, because, something has to give. So it has been an extraordinary journey. And I'm just so thrilled also now to have a team of amazing women who themselves, we have mothers on my team. We have ambitious women on my team who, even those who are not mothers, just due to circumstances, they just don't fit into the traditional ways of office, dynamics. They don't want that to be their life. So to be able to build a brand that provides them with a platform on which to shine has been, such an incredible opportunity, and really keeps me going and my focus going too, because I keep them in my mind in the background too, that it's not just about me, my family, and what I'm trying to achieve, but I would like to bring them with me.
No, that's fantastic. And that was actually a question I was going to ask you, in terms of, the flexibility is not just you wanted flexibility, but you're actually giving that to other women that are part of your team, so they can work the hours that suit whatever their circumstances are. And that's so important, because I think nowadays a lot of women, especially even the ones, without children, they might have caring duties, or they might have specific things they need to do, which are outside the ordinary 9 to 5, times.
Yes.
And by allowing people flexibility, one, I feel, this is it's another topic, I think it's a whole massive one, but some people believe that if you're not sitting at a desk 9 to 5 or whatever the case is, then you're not productive. But I disagree with that, because I've done a lot of freelance over the years. And I feel like when you freelance,
Yeah.
you probably work harder, because you haven't got that cushion of having holiday pay. You haven't, there's a lot of benefits you don't have. So that if you don't do a specific task, you're not going to get paid. And you kind of different reasons to drive you to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. When I have 3 hours, especially as I said during the earlier years, when the children were even younger, when I had 2 to 3 hours to work on my business for myself, there was no taking my time at the coffee machine. There was no looking at my phone, just browsing for 5 minutes. I was at my desk and I was working. One thing that I always like to do at the beginning of the day is like point out the most, like the 3 tasks that need to get done. So I know, right, if I get these three things done, they will move the needle, forward. They're bringing me closer to my goal. So I always have a plan at the beginning of each day. But as you said, it's not a case of having to work 9 to 5. It's working the best you can in the hours at your disposal and creating the results. Because there's a difference between being busy and being productive.
Yeah.
So making sure that you are productive during those times.
Oh, fantastic. And, how can people connect with you or find you if they want your services? And do you work with individuals? Do you work with companies? What do you sort of offer?
Well, I have a website, calibrevirtualservices.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I usually spend most of my time in terms of social media, but obviously I do have, other platforms as well. And we do work with established and ambitious business owners. Now, I say established, and by that I mean you've had a proof of concept. This is what you want to do. And you are invested, a person is invested then in their own business. And they have a goal. And by ambitious, what I mean by that is that they know where they want to be in 3 to 5 years' time, and they've got a plan. And they need someone with them to help them reach that goal faster. So those are the businesses that we work with. They can be, solopreneurs. They can be teams of directors. And it's really people who, in addition to having a plan and being ambitious and knowing what they want, it's people who almost know the strategy, but just don't have the time to action it themselves. So they know usually what needs to be done for their business to progress onto the next step, but they're being caught. They're not always even caught in the emails and things. Some people are, but sometimes they are just very heavily with their client work and nurturing their current clients without having the time, let's say, just for example, to market for the time where these current contracts will then end. What's being done for the next step, and that's where we come in. So it's really people who definitely are looking for a virtual assistant who is also a strategic partner. Because Calibre's virtual assistants are experts at what they do and they're highly qualified, they are very proactive. They're not just somebody who will just look at your emails for you, not offer any word of advice, no suggestion. They will always be able to suggest a better way of doing things, whether it's, look, we can streamline your operations better here. We can continue to do things your way. We considered this. This will actually sort this problem out. We can automate this. We can make this better, and that will free up this time for this element of your business. And when it comes to my team, at the moment, they're split into 3 different groups. I've got my admin team, who are executive assistants and project managers, and they've got those qualifications and that experience. So when it comes to project management tools, planning ahead and putting tasks and actioning tasks that will reach these projects, in whichever quarter of the year, they are fantastic at doing that. They're fantastic at providing strong admin secretarial support to directors. I also have a very strong marketing VA team, and they are marketers. They have, their own agencies, top of their game again. They've done social media campaigns for businesses, who deal with, 6-figure campaigns sometimes, so we have a range of expertise. And I also have a legal admin team who support consultant solicitors, usually within the conveyancing space. Yeah. So we really do work with those businesses who know what they're doing. They're just lacking the time to do it, but also who do not want to get lost in people management. Yeah. So often I hear people who say, oh, I created this business, but now I'm barely doing the thing that I actually want to do because I'm managing people. I'm spending more time managing these people than doing what I want to do. And we've actually had people come to us who've experienced that and almost downsized because they didn't like the fact that the bigger they grew, the more they were being taken away from the reason why they started the business in the first place. And that's where we come in then. So they don't need to manage, because that's where I come in as the agency founder. If there's any issues or anything, I'm there to help sort it. I keep the virtual assistants accountable so that they don't lose their momentum. And also from the virtual assistants perspective, I also ensure that the business owners, that they don't, how can I put this? If there's a change in expectations, I'm there to make sure that everything then goes smoothly and that there's that exchange and communication to make sure there's no misunderstanding moving forward.
So Naomi, you definitely have a massive range of products and services that you offer within your VA business. But not only do you just offer the services, you've got awards to back it all up. How's the award journey been going for you?
Goodness, it has been such an honor to be recognized with a few awards. I honestly can't believe it, if I'm honest with you, so early on in my journey. But I must admit, it all also came down to the encouragement I received from an absolutely amazing business coach. About 13 months into my business, I was matched with this business coach, and they really encouraged me to enter awards as a way to raise their visibility and credibility. Now, I honestly started entering awards just for the experience, because I thought to myself, there is no way that after just a couple of years in business that I'm going to, get very far with this. It's good experience. So that was my mindset. Let's just give it a go. Let me just listen to the business coach. But I had told her that I was willing to put in the work, whatever she, suggested I was willing to do. And she suggested that. So I thought, okay, let's go ahead. And slowly but surely, I started, being named, me personally as finalist for several awards, which was absolutely amazing. I was able to then attend these award ceremonies and, build my network, meet other amazing people, hear about their fantastic journeys. And then, as you just mentioned, I started winning, which again, wow, just to have that recognition of what I was trying to achieve was such an incredible moment for me. Because if you think back to the reason why I started Calibre, I want to challenge the outdated perceptions of virtual assistants, and I want to raise the industry standard. I can't do that if there's no visibility or credibility. So to be recognized by these awards has been absolutely fantastic. I believe last year, 2024, I was recognized as Business Startup Woman of the Year. I was recognized as the one to watch at Sandra Garlick's Women Who Awards. And then this year I actually won that award in itself, becoming a Woman Who 2025. And then this year again, I was nominated and then won, but this time as an agency, which for me was even more powerful, because this then represented what my agency, what my team, what we were all together achieving on that goal of raising the industry standard. We have been recognized as the best remote administrative agency 2025. Woo. And that, honestly, if anything was going to spur me on to more, that moment was it. So yeah, it's been such an incredible journey for which I'm truly grateful.
Now, huge congratulations. And it's really interesting you mentioned about the awards, because I remember my very first entry, and when I look at it, I'm always like, did I actually write that? And what did the judges think of that? And yes, you kind of see how you grow, because it's not just, another certificate or just, validation, but it's also a reflective practice for yourself, isn't it? And your team.
Yes. And to be able to look back at the journey, awards, that's one thing that I did appreciate and that I underestimated. When you get nominated, then you have to share your story with people who've potentially not heard of you before. It's, you recognize how far you've come, you recognize the challenges that you've overcome. And some of the questions that they ask they really do help you put things in perspective and help you reframe certain experiences, so yeah, really invigorating journey.
No, well done. And with your services, you've got quite a wide range and different sectors of it. What sort of offers have you got coming up?
I would say, with the last quarter of the year coming so fast, and the next year, 2026, coming even faster, I think all of us are just also focusing on what are we doing to promote our brands? What are we doing when it comes to our own marketing? And honestly, this is a service that I developed with my marketing VAs, also out of my own need.
Yeah.
I found myself, creating a service that I needed and that I now have myself. Because when you're so in your business and, working with clients, it's just so easy to lose track of the next step of promotional activities. And there's always something that's happening in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, but are you on track to achieving those goals in a timely manner? And so we have put together a marketing visibility accelerator package, which is absolutely fantastic because businesses receive expert support to create and launch a results-driven marketing campaign across their key channels. They work directly with a qualified online marketing manager to build, plan, and execute a campaign that grows visibility. And even if you know what you want to achieve, even if you say, you know what, I don't need you to come up with a plan, I already have the plan. I just need time to execute it. I need help to bring it, to life. That's what this package is for. So whether it's email marketing, lead magnets, planning your promotional activities in a cohesive way, events management, so many within my network have got retreats that they are planning and things like that. A lot of work goes into those kinds of things. So building a cohesive marketing campaign to reach your next marketing goal, that's what this offer is for, the Marketing Visibility Accelerator.
Well, that sounds amazing and really interesting. And I think marketing is a really big one. That's, one for me as well. So it's a really good one to share. And, you've shared so much, and I can see how much passion you have for what you do. And also, how you support your team as well. What I wanted to find out is what advice would you give to somebody else who's kind of, whether they're a mom or non-mom, but that's on the fence of, do I step into the business world? Do I carry on working? Any sort of 3 tips, what did you have to consider yourself, or what would you encourage them to do?
I would say, trust yourself. You can do this. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do whatever it is that you are imagining for yourself. And I remember at the beginning of my journey, obviously, I had conversations with my husband sometimes, but there was a lot of things, and I told even my husband this later on, that I kept to myself. I didn't say from the get-go to others that I'm planning to raise the industry standard, because I didn't want them to look at me and laugh. Because that's a pretty big goal for somebody to take on. But I thought to myself, I think I can do this. I just need to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If I get this right, that will have the intended effect, and I will be able to then achieve this, this, this. So trust yourself. Don't allow other people's negativity sometimes, and sometimes well-meaning comments, to bring you down, and have a very clear plan and work out what success means to you. So during my first year of doing, what I'm doing, success for me was balancing building a business with being present for my children. That was my version of success. And as such, I didn't expect to reach 6 figures in 1 year, because I knew that I had limited time. But that was okay, because my version of success, as long as I got to the end of the year and I had moved my business forward while still being a present mum, I had been successful. Bring on the second year. So redefine what your version of success is, trust yourself, and just do it.
That's fantastic. And those are brilliant, brilliant tips. Thank you so much, Naomi. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Esther. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you for your time.